welcome to another edition of Connecting the Dots. Connecting the Dots really is founded on how do we make sure that we know about those solutions that are out there and that, man, to really move the needles in our community. Today, we're going to be talking about a conversation that I'm certain you've heard in so many different forums about hidden talent, justice involved. How do we do that? How do we connect the dots there? Well, you get it. We have the greatest conversationalist about this today, and that's none other than Robert Melgard. He is Cornerstone Consulting. He's the founder, and he has found the secret sauce and magic. And collectively, we're going to talk about how, if you've not gone down that path already, how you can go down that path, and we can even help you. So, Robert, for starters, if you would give us a little bit of your background and about this whole notion of starting your organization and what you desire to do with the work that you have either already started or have on your agenda for the future.
Thank you, Dr. Moore, for having me. Happy to be here and share some of my insight. A little bit about my background. I'm about 19 years in correctional education. I've done everything from a CTE teacher to a coordinator to administrator. Background in the trade, so I'm a fourth generation brick mason as well. So I kind of come from the trade to bring a different perspective to the way I think about things, the way I see projects. I kind of tackle it from a different angle. But I did start my consulting business here this year, and just hoping as a dream, like one day maybe I'll do a little something outside of what I've been doing or expand from a statewide level to a national level because, justice involved individuals and justice reform, correctional education is a hot topic right now. So we're looking at expanding on that, sharing some of my knowledge and skill base with others who are interested in starting programs and identifying talent hidden within correctional institutions because there's so much talent out there. And just collaborating with the network I've built over the years of folks inside correctional education, outside correctional education, and public education, and just trying to share some of the knowledge I have. And I'm really passionate about the work that I do. And I'm hoping we can expand that and provide opportunities for others.
I have no doubt that we'll do just that. I am absolutely aware of your background and the impact that you've had, certainly when I think about the state of Florida. But then I also think about nationally where you are a lead there in collaborating with other state leads about the work that's happening and the work that we could endeavor to do together. And so those of you that are listening, tuning in right now, I'm certain that this is a topic, again, of great conversation because as we see the unemployment rates get lower and lower, you're looking for everybody that can contribute to that workforce, and certainly our hidden talent and our skill talent. Might I add that skill talent that Robert's already talked about as part of his background. So we're going to jump into having that conversation, and we would encourage you to explore more about what this collaborative, should you have a desire where you're not able to feel it right there with your partnerships, of how we might be able to meet that need for you. So, Robert, when we think about, justice involved hidden talent, and over time, we've seen that name change with so many different variations, but just to level set with our audience, how would you define justice involved hidden talent and kind of what unique skills or attributes do these individuals bring to the workforce?
Yeah, first I'd just say correctional education is the best kept secret in the nation. I mean, when you're talking about identifying talent, it's probably the last place an individual, an employer, an organization looks or thinks about. But if they only saw what we see day in and day out behind those fences, you would be blown away. The skills some of these individuals have that are unique to their situation, I would say resilience, adaptability. Adaptability is huge. They're natural problem solvers. I've seen, you wouldn't believe some of the things that I've learned from being inside correctional education programs that they have. I talked about the way I look at things. They have a whole nother way of looking at things and explaining and solving problems. Super motivated and determined. These individuals, they want to be successful. They want to change their life. They're hungry for education. They're hungry to prove themselves. And then they also can bring unique insights, cultural competence to an organization in diversity. So all of these are something that's unique to the workforce. And I know a lot of times organizations are just looking to fill positions, But giving these guys the opportunity, they have proven to be some of the most loyal and motivated, talented individuals, and they can really bring a lot to the table. Any employer will be happy to have most of these students that we see.
You are exactly right, because listeners, if you've never, and I know all of us have attended different types of commencements, but if you've never been behind the walls and attended one of these commencement ceremonies, you are missing a treat, because as Robert mentioned, just the resilience, just the desire to succeed, just the whole idea of having a second chance means so much. And when they land employment, oftentimes what you see, especially when giving an opportunity, they perform at the highest level. So I guess it's a great segue from Robert. In your view, what are some of the primary barriers or challenges that justice involved individuals face when seeking employment?
Yeah, there are several. The social stigma surrounding a justice involved individual. They face some discrimination, preconceived notions, just off the top, from the get go. And then if you get down to some of the licensure restrictions or requirements, they could be a barrier there that's they can't really overcome. Now, there are plenty of initiatives in place to reduce these barriers for justice involved individuals, such as ban the box, looking, setting a time frame where they can't look back so far on a criminal history, and just trying to ease their way back into employment and society. Some of the other, barriers that they may face, there's a technological competence that, sometimes digital literacy could be an issue. We're doing a really good job of integrating technology into correctional education programs, but there's still a long ways to go there. And then outside of, post-release housing, transportation, childcare, all these things make it really difficult for an individual that they may have to face challenges a normal person or an everyday person might not face. Fair chance hiring is huge. If we can, take away, ban the box things like that, fair chance hiring, having individualized assessments for applications instead of, judge the person on their skill set, not what they've done in their past. And then increasing partnerships with community organizations is crucial. Nonprofits, and they can provide mentorship and a little bit of case management assistance with some of the transportation or housing issues, perhaps, in the first early days of release. All of these things really can play a big part in reducing those barriers.
It makes me think about, and listeners, just as a reminder, I had an opportunity, great opportunity, to work with Robert some time ago, and one of those, I think about the experience where an employer had actually set up housing so that he could ensure that his workforce had that barrier removed. So there are lots of creative things that collectively we can share and have you think about when it comes to creating a strategy that looks at moving individuals from incarceration to transitioning into being what I call a dependable worker. And in some cases, we've seen it where they've also turned into a great supervisor as well. So don't count that out. Robert,
Absolutely.
when, I thought about that one as this, kind of just being creative on the employer side of it, but can you just share some other success stories that come to mind where you have seen where this workforce was effectively kind of tapped into to meet workforce demand?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the best example is the Florida Masonry Association and then the Florida Masonry Apprentice and Education Foundation. Together, they kind of work together, but they have a long-term relationship with the Florida Department of Corrections well over 2 decades of coming in and supporting programs. And so the model that they have put in place is one that's really we're trying to replicate with other industries. And when the industry comes in and says, how can we tap in? We share this model with them. So some of the things that they've done is they have a dedicated staff, multiple staff members for correctional education. So they're coming in, checking out the program, speaking with the students, getting to know the instructors, bringing employers in, participating in events such like open house events, competitions. So we have industry recognized competitions where the Masonry Association will come in with judges. We'll have a project they'll build and perform. The students will perform right in front of them. And then it not only shows support of the programs, it shows buy-in from the industry, and the students really thrive on that. So knowing that someone from the outside cares. It's really it's a people business. Everything comes down to people. And when you build these relationships pre-release with industry, not only do the students want to go work for these employers, but the employers are dying to get them. Like, no, I really want you to come work for me. I need you right now. So having that dedicated staff, it makes a difference. They're coming in, they're doing pre-release hiring events as an industry, and they're connecting in person as well as through technology. Zoom interviews, believe it or not, are happening inside correctional institutions. And this year alone, they've had several hundred uh, of our students released with pre-release job offers.
Yeah.
And I think last year we had almost 1,000 just from masonry,
Oh my
the
gosh.
masonry association, not counting other industries. So we're on pace to do about that same number again this year. We have a community transition team that assist in those hiring events, those job fairs, and really it's just that association has done so much. They bought in and they've built relationships over time, and they're happy to share with any other organization or industry to tap into our talent pool. Because before, when we were begging folks to come in and say, look at what we have, look what we're training, look at the skills of our students, now they're like, we've heard about this. How do we come in and participate? It's really exciting time.
That's why, again, listeners, when I think about this, a whole episode here about connecting the dots and others that you'll hear throughout that will be published, the idea of figuring out what resources need to be connected with other resources, such as in this case, it's a collaboration with the association. There's so many ways that it can be tackled and tackled successfully. And we're saying, don't reinvent the wheel. Really look at the expertise that's here and the experience, and use that as, I call it, a platform and foundation for moving your needle forward in your community. So, Robert, when it comes to the role of education and training programs and preparing justice-involved individuals for employment, how can organizations ensure that these programs are accessible and effective?
Really, the skill development is huge for our students. Having the opportunity to participate in programs, having those programs diverse enough to be interesting to a wide population in an institution, or the ability to move individuals around to where those programs are that they're interested in. Our high school program, our GED, high school diploma programs are pretty much everywhere, but our CTE vocational type programs, you can't put every program in every institution, but you can identify those individuals based on their needs assessment, what they're interested in, and get them to the places where those programs are at. So having industry recognized programs, following the Florida Department of Education or Department of Education frameworks within your programs, offering industry recognized credentials that's transferable, stackable, they go across the board. The soft skills, we have soft skills training embedded into all of our programs, including not only the academic programs, but the CTE programs as well. And we don't tell the individual they're learning soft skills. It's kind of, we just do it, and they're learning their soft skills. So they're learning to be more effective in the workplace, how to get along with others, all the good stuff. But to ensure effectiveness, we look for qualified instructors first and foremost. Like I said, as a people person, a people business, having the right people influence these individuals and these learners is so crucial. Our students connect with our instructors on a level that's unheard of. Like when they're at an institution, they probably spend more time with their instructors than anyone else, including the officer, security, or what. They build this bond. And when they go home and they're successful, the person they call back is their instructor. They don't call anybody else. They want to, Mr. Melgard, I did this. I got this job. I bought my first car. It's like, it makes me do what I do. I love the success stories. Program evaluations, we're constantly evaluating our programs for effectiveness with site visits, with industry folks coming in and assessing our programs to make sure that we align to the industry needs. The things are ever changing, as you know. And then also our advisory committees and our advisory boards, they really lead our programs to ensure effectiveness and to make sure that we're offering the right training to the right people and that there's employment outcomes on the other side of it.
I love that. One thing that I will also want to make sure that listeners are a part of. So strong background and making sure not only in creating the program, but as you mentioned, you've also been an instructor and led that as well. But I think about the industry recognized certifications, the fact that those are an integral part of what has been created through your work and certainly through the work that we could collaborate on with others, but making sure that it translates directly into what employers are looking for and that they are ready day one. So I know you're very familiar with that. I probably can't even count the number of credentials probably that you all are seeing processed each year. But is
Yeah,
that something as well that employers are saying to you? Has been your experience, Robert? That
they are. Yeah, so it's really the big push in the trend, as you know, coming from post secondary education, that it's not so much the degree, it's the credential. It's not what you know on paper. It's what can you do, what can you show me, and we are constantly looking for the credentials that align to the programs, industry recognized credentials, stackable credentials to make a person more employable, to make them they have a career path for a career advancement, not only just a job but an actual career. And so it's been fun, and our workload is tremendously increased, but our credentials have gone up. If you look at the chart on the 10-year trend, what we offered just 10 years ago to now, I mean, I'm sure it's 5 times, 6 times
yeah.
more credentials annually that we're producing.
And I love that because I want for the listeners to get an understanding of the possibilities that are out there, that when you look at ways to engage all of your potential workforce and creating that talent pipeline, that you don't exclude this group. This is an actually big group that you need to think about, and how you do that is through collaboration and setting up programs and structures. So again, this is something that you should be thinking about as part of your workforce development and economic development plans. Robert, when it comes to organizations collaborating, how can they work with entities, whether it's state or whether it's local reentry programs, to support the successful employment of justice involved individuals? What have you seen across the state? And I also know that you've done some national work and engagement as well.
Yeah, joining up with community organizations that provide reentry services is crucial. Gaining an understanding of what an individual is going through, understanding their time that they spent with incarcerated. It was a beneficial time for our students, the ones that I deal with, and um, really, it's just providing the opportunity, understanding their situation, developing mentorship programs, perhaps. All of these things are crucial. Getting to know the individual before release, so they're not just a name coming across the board or an application. When I say getting involved with our advisory committee, that's a huge thing. Like if you can get involved as an advisor with any industry, because we have an advisory committee for every one of our trades that are offered, and we're always looking to connect employers who are interested to our students. So I'd say really it's just the community, becoming a part of the community, really, and understanding that these folks are coming home regardless.
Right.
So why not provide opportunity for employment to become they're making themselves a better person, a better member of your community, not only just as a tax-paying person, but just as a better father, a better family person, and really to meet the needs. Our employers are struggling across the board for skilled labor, and we can fill that void.
Yeah.
They just need the opportunity.
I love that because again, we all play a role, and we all, oftentimes you hear the conversation about recidivism and, man, I wish, putting our tax dollars to work. Well, here is an opportunity where you could build on the fact that these individuals are already trained and skilled. They just need an opportunity to be slotted with. So please do take that into consideration, that it's not just, a one-off, and that there's training being offered behind the walls. It's what happens and the benefit that can be gained from that when there's an opportunity presented. And some of those, when I talk about gain, but there are also some incentives. What are the incentives or support systems that organizations put in place to assist employers? And I always, I call it, the carrot that exists for employers who
Mhm.
choose to hire from this potential pipeline.
Yeah, there's financial incentives, tax credits, the work opportunity tax credit, federal bonding to ensure that you're protected the first 6 months if you hire someone who's justice involved. There's training development programs that an organization can put in place to ensure success. Mentorship programs, sharing success stories is huge. They're out there everywhere, and the more that we raise public awareness of these folks becoming successful, for every one we hear about, there's hundreds more that are doing the same thing. We just don't know about it. So we kind of go back to an earlier question to relieve some of the stigma around hiring justice involved individuals. and it's creating clear pathways. It's huge for everybody to know that what they're getting into, they're hiring at this level, but they can take it to the next level too. So those are some of the incentives that you can have as an organization personally, and then that's some of the you can also have incentives for your staff as you're bringing them on board, your employees, so that they know that there is a pathway to success, and that if you provide those programs for support, that they can be very, very successful.
I love that, and it makes me think about with our partners such as the WIOA boards, the workforce boards across the country, where the federal bonding workshops are offered, and then the letter once there's an offer of hire. And you mentioned 6 months, but there is an opportunity to even extend that. So
Mhm.
really, employers being mindful and knowing that these services are out there. I know in my times of working with employers, oh my gosh, number of years, when I'd share with them about, hey, here's an opportunity that not only are you getting great talent, but you'll also get this added benefit. And they're like, well, I haven't heard of that. So I want to make
Mhm.
sure that listeners, that you are aware of that there is the added benefit, the value add, that if you do choose to be a second chance, an opportunity employer, that there are other benefits that you can certainly consider taking advantage of. Robert, when it comes to this whole idea of measuring success and impact, from the initiatives, because there's always, there's a question, well, if you invest here, what can you expect on the back end of this? We've talked about employment and, being one of those indicators, but are there other indicators that come to mind when you think about the justice involved population?
Yeah, I mean the employment rate is obvious. That's the first thing. Increase the employment rate. Retention rate is something we try to measure. The retention rate, not only getting the job but keeping the job. So we're super interested in that number. Wage growth is something that we want to look at because we want to show that we're not only offering jobs but we're offering opportunities for advancement. So wage growth is one of those indicators. Recidivism rate. The recidivism rate is something we measure. It takes a little longer to measure recidivism. I know we typically go on like 3 year cycles, but you can go as an employer or as a local community. You can measure that in real time almost when you hear of things like so and so's been out, they've been employed here for 9 months, they've been employed here a year and a half, they're doing well. We can track skill development to see what an employee has done since they've come on board. Have they taken the initiative to advance their career, to gain more credentials, to stack those credentials and put that to use as to get a promotion, perhaps? And then the community impact is something that you can measure. It's kind of hard to measure community impact individually, but reduction in crime and then an increase in the tax revenue for your community. I mean, that's obvious. And then just filling the labor shortage, really.
Oh my goodness. So many great reasons, and also for those that may be, as you're spread throughout the nation. And I know that we've even picked up some global listeners as well, and thinking about, how would I respond to that if I were to be the second chance employer? If we were to stand up a second chance initiative, what would it look like? How would you be responsive with some return on investment types of measures? And here again are just examples of what those indicators can be, and we hope that you will move in that direction of making sure that every individual that wants and has a desire to contribute in your community, they have the ability to do that. And Robert, it's so interesting that this conversation is one that you and I both love, but we've reached the last question. And the last question is that, looking ahead, what are some potential trends or developments in this area that we should be mindful of when it comes to strategies that, organizations might want to engage when it comes to supporting justice involved individuals? What's out there on the horizon?
Yeah, really, right now, the increased use of technology, increasing accessibility to our population is huge. And that's something that we're going to tap into and lean on to assist in employment opportunities, training opportunities. We now have the ability to Zoom in virtual instruction to some of our students, depending on the program. Now, in career and technical education, that's a little bit tricky sometimes, but for our technical hands-on trades, we'll still have our hands-on instructors in there. But for subject matter experts, guest lecturers, the use of technology has been huge. And then drawing in people from all over the state to hear the message from one instructor or one subject matter expert has been big on us. Additionally, the increased focus on rehabilitation and reintegration
Yes.
initiatives that's going to be really big for us. I mean, we've already seen it over the last several years. The funding is available out there. People don't sometimes they don't know how to tap into that funding to start and have successful programs, but that's something that we can help you with and help you focus on and get your programs up and running. The expansion of second chance programs in general is it's a hot topic right now nationally. So we're seeing a lot more motivated legislatures in different states. And how can we spend the money effectively? How can we increase our return on investment? And we know that training is key to that. Training shows the highest reduction of recidivism, and these folks, they don't come back when they come to our programs. They're trained and they're motivated. We talked about the skills they possess. They go out and they're successful, and we should share those success stories, and that opens the door for the next person.
I love that.
And lastly, I think it's just diversity and inclusion initiatives that are coming up along. So this our population falls right into that, underserved population, and just really they're just looking for an opportunity. And we're hoping by having events like this, having podcasts, and spreading the message that folks will be more open to hiring our population because they're just as skilled, if not more skilled than others.
You are so true, because as you're talking about things on the horizon, I'm thinking about not only opportunities, whether you're state or county or, community organizations that are thinking about how do we connect the dots in our community. Wow, we'd love to continue this conversation and hear more. Well, there are opportunities for braided funding. I know, Robert, you and I have had the opportunity where we've looked at, one investment from one organization, and then we found an opportunity to have other dollars come in from another source to create really strong programs, whether it was apprenticeships or pre-apprenticeship programs, and then looking at the traditional funding that was being provided by a state agency of sorts. So there are so many different ways that you can look at it. The other piece of this is that when we take on models that are aggressive and that point to a lot of the things that Robert's talked about, these individuals won't have to recidivate because they'll be making more than you. That's the thing. I mean, they are being trained for occupations where their wages really, and some of them can even reach the 6-figure number. When you think about plumbers and all of that, all electricians and things. I mean, think about it. You have an opportunity to really change the course of not only the individual, but their families and also even your community. So, Robert, I mean, I'm excited and fired up about the possibilities of what we see out there and how we can look at the landscape of not only a state, but really a nation, and how we, through the work that we've done and the experiences that we've shared, can look at changing that narrative and honestly connecting the dots. And with that, listeners, I want to thank you for tuning in to the Connecting the Dots episode. There will, of course, be other Connecting the Dots episodes, but the great thing about this one is that you have to act, and we're looking forward to you acting. Stay tuned until the next one. Bye-bye.